Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Police Smith.
And I'm Monte Belmonte. Later in the show, our next installment of Meet the Mayor. We'll talk with Easthampton's mayor, Nicole LaChapelle, about superintendents, spending, and songs. The mayor's a big local music fan. If you've got a question for the mayor, text us at 1-800-639-9120.
And it's the 1st of May. Outdoor something starts today, but we're interpreting the culmination of that and International Labor Day to mean working with the land so that the plants might prosper. So we'll be checking in with Cisa and Julia Lemure of Windy Ridge Farm and Holly about their unique CSAs and more.
But first, a very special Mr. Universe segment.
Let's take you to the Springfield Museums for the grand reopening of the Seymour Planetarium,
where you'll be able to see more at the Seymour Planetarium.
I can't promise it won't all be dad jokes, but gosh, I wish I could.
We're here at the grand reopening of the Seymour Planetarium at the wonderful Springfield Museums, and who do I run into but the mayor of Springfield himself, Dominic Sarno. This place means something special to you.
It does, but first of all, Monte, I want to thank you for what you do on your walk to raise awareness of hunger and help out homelessness and all the food donations that you get on that. But yes, it does.
We're walking right now, so this is like training.
We are walking. And I have to tell you, as a kid going to White Street School, it was a big deal when we had a school trip here. It was either 3rd or 4th grade, and I never forgot it. Then you fast forward, play it forward, and I remember bringing my daughters when they were younger down here too. And to a lot of kids, especially in the urban center, these are the type of activities that help them not only dream but to achieve. And to me, I always remembered it, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
The field trip and coming down here, and so I'm glad to be here to say a couple of words, and I'm off to 6 o'clock.
Oh, good.
But it's really nice to meet you too.
Great, and we'll have you on to Meet the Mayor. This doesn't count as your Meet the Mayor.
Okay.
We're going to have you on soon.
Jenny Powers. I'm the director of the Science Museum.
This is a big day for the Science Museum, the reopening of the Seymour Planetarium. Even the mayor's excited about it in this year.
We are all excited. This is a real gift to Springfield. In 1937, we couldn't afford a Zeiss projector, and today we can, thanks to our federal earmark.
Aha! So I'm assuming that was Congressman Neal that figured out how to make that happen?
Actually, it was Ed Markey.
And so tell me about what that projector is that you're talking about.
So the Zeiss is the gold standard for planetarium projectors. They invented the projection planetarium, and their optics are known worldwide. So the lenses in the planetarium projector are 20 pounds each, and it projects onto our full dome. The Quarkus, which only project the stars, now we can project almost anything we know in the universe. And we can also show a lot of shows that involve a lot more representation than we could. And one thing that I'm really extremely proud of is we have our first Spanish language show.
Oh my goodness, that's so great.
Yeah.
That's really important too, I think.
That's really important for serving the city of Springfield, definitely.
So when we go into the planetarium, what is it that we're going to see right now?
Instead of just seeing a dark sky with stars illuminated on the ceiling, you should walk in and see clouds overhead. They're computer generated. We can leave them up all day. But then we're going to go into some of the things that we can see in real time or that gets updated daily so we know what it looks like, including our solar system, the planets, and even beyond.
So what we see in there is in real time? Like, because I've always wondered, like, am I watching a video in this planetarium? It's not like an observatory. It's not like a telescope. So what's the difference?
Right. So because there's so many satellites and probes out in our solar system, they send information back consistently. And so the projector updates itself every day. So you're not seeing real time as in right now, but you're seeing images that may have been updated as recently as 24 hours ago.
But it doesn't really matter because any star you see in the sky, even with your naked eyes, that light literally left tens of millions of years ago, usually.
It could be. Even with the Webb telescope, we can see back 13.7 billion years, and our universe is only 13.8 billion years old. So you're seeing most of the way. It's pretty exciting. And the other thing is we'll be able to do things like add planetarium shows that include Webb images. As soon as they come out, we can start working on that and present that, not maybe the same day, but we can present it. What's in the news is what people are most excited about. So we want them to see those new images and enjoy them and get to expand their own universe.
Can't wait. My guy, Mr. Universe, our resident astronomer, is coming to check this out with us. It should be so fun.
Awesome. I hope you have a good time in the planetarium. My favorite part is when we take a wormhole back to Earth.
Woo! At least it's awesome because you can get White Lion at the museum right now. Not always.
I know, not always, but like whenever they have events like this, they're here and it's really nice.
You got a not intentionally astronomically themed White Lion beer.
Yeah, but we both got astronomically themed labels. So like
What's
mine
yours?
is Skyline and it's a Crystallyson. It's a wheat beer that is clarified unlike Hefeweizen.
And mine is a star ball that has a very specific Springfield Museum label on it. Does yours have that too?
No,
Yeah,
mine
this
just
one-
has constellations, but you know what? I'm
You
not
can get
mad
that one
at
a
it.
lot, right?
You can, I don't know if they're going to make this one of their standard rotation, but I think they should, considering how popular it's been, apparently.
And I'm drinking a star ball, which is a local Pilsner, but has stuff from the Planetarium on it. Pretty cool.
Kay Simpson. I'm the president of the Springfield Museums.
What does this new and refurbished planetarium mean for you and the Springfield Museum?
Well, it's so exciting because the shows that we've been doing since 1937 have used a handmade Starball projector.
Starball, like the beer that I'm drinking from White Lion?
Well,
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
something like that. It is a famous object. We're very proud of it. It's an antique, but we really wanted to be able to offer programs and experiences that really provide children and families with an opportunity to feel like they really are just soaring through the universe. So now we have this full dome digital projection system, and we are going to be able to do so many more things. We're really feeling like this is a big transition for us. It's transformational.
Do you have the original Starball on display elsewhere in the museum now?
It's still in the planetarium.
Oh, really?
So
cool.
the beauty is that we are going to be able to do both. So we not only have the oldest operating Starball in the world. In 1934, the museum, that is, wanted to purchase a state-of-the-art Zeiss projection system, and it was the height of the Depression, and they couldn't afford it. So two brothers from Chicopee, the Corcus brothers, actually made one by hand.
Wow.
Which is absolutely really incredible.
Honestly, I feel like might be the reason it's still operable and doing well today, frankly.
And so that's still in there.
It's still in there, and we now have this new projection system, and it's amazing. I'd like to have your attention just for a few minutes because we do have a very special guest with us, Mayor Dominic Sarno. We just took him into the planetarium and he saw the new projection system, and I think he was just incredibly dazzled by it. And I explained to him that the Starball that we have, which was actually created by the Corcus brothers of Chicopee, 1934 to 1937, was in use until 2022, and at that time, it was the oldest operating Starball in the world. When the Starball was first inaugurated back in 1937, there were a lot of celebrities that actually came and visited the planetarium, including the famous actor Clark Gable. Oh, wow. And that was in 1939. So fast forward to, I think it was the 1980s or 1990s when Dominic Sarno was in grade school in Springfield. And he came to the planetarium and he essentially saw the same show that Clark Gable saw in 1939. So now we are so excited with a blend of federal and state earmarks and support from all of you, our donors. We now have a state-of-the-art Zeiss projection system. Now, I should say a really significant amount of money that has supported this endeavor has come from the federal government through a federal earmark. And it was congressionally directed, and so for that reason, I think it is especially important that we thank Congressman Richard Neal.
Thanks to all of you, and generally you don't have much applause for federal spending. It's a reminder of the genius of the Corcus brothers, the unwavering loyalty and support of all of you. Every time I walk across the green, I'm reminded of the extraordinary benefactors who had the vision to make this sort of investments along the way that in time even my grandchildren get to enjoy. I first came here as a child in the Springfield Public Schools. I feel like a neighbor of Technical High School across the street, baptized, confirmed, just a few yards from here. And we transformed this neighborhood with federal investments. I had somebody in my office the other day, and I was going to the window, and I said, "You know, see that school across the street? That's where Ted Geisel went to high school. That's where William Manchester went to high school. I always pause at the end and I say, that's where Tim Leary went to high school. I always point that out. But the treasure that these museums and that library in this city, it's unbelievable for a city our size to have these sort of great cultural amenities. Thank you all from the United States of America.
Can we bring beer into a planetarium?
I have no idea, but we should ask because they just got this and it's new and we don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, we don't want to spill
We
beer.
want to be asked back.
Right.
Are we allowed to?
Can we take the beers in there?
Unfortunately.
All right, we'll leave them. We'll leave them.
Actually, they have been letting them in the last few nights.
No, not tonight.
Oh, okay.
It's stopped.
All right.
Yep, yeah, we did it.
Dang it! Hold my beer.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go in there. Here we go.
So we're trying to add a lot more tactile components to the museum, not only because it's good for everybody, we love to touch things, but also we can help serve, this is a way we can serve people who have low or no sight.
Can I hold the meteorite?
Yes, you can, for you.
It is heavy.
It is
Hey,
heavy.
look at that. Look, where'd the meteorite go? I put it in my pocket. It's mine now.
Did you see the big one outside? You can't walk away with that.
What's your name?
Nate Wood.
You're driving the planetarium. Do you feel like you're a space pilot or like playing a video game, or what does it feel like?
I like to imagine I'm a space pilot.
The night sky, both beautiful and mysterious. The subject of campfire stories, ancient myths, and awe for as long as there have been people. Living beneath the open dark sky, the earliest humans were aware of nightly changes as planets marched across the sky, the moon waxed and waned, and occasional meteors flared across the horizon.
If you might want to close your eyes for a bit, if you are a little prone to maybe being motion sick, it's going to pop us up out of the solar system a little bit. We can see the orbits of all the other planets. These orbits are as the planets, the position the planets are in right now. And here we go.
There was a request to visit Pluto, so we're going to visit. Sticking up for the little guy. Nobody said Uranus, and that's disappointing. Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hamid, Mr. Universe, is here at this grand reopening of the Seymour Planetarium. Why are planetariums? They're not telescopes. You're not looking right now at the skies. Why are planetariums important for popular science at museums like this?
This is the way to see the stars, because light pollution is now such a big issue that you actually don't get to see what is up in the night sky. And planetariums just provide you, first of all, a glimpse of the night sky, all the stars that are there. And secondly, you can do a lot more with that because you can change whatever year, if you want to see sort of like, a million years before or a million years later, if you can see close-ups of certain types of stars and planets and things like that. So you can do all of that. This is actually not just simply a theoretical question. I got interested because of Carl Sagan, but once I got interested in astronomy, the first thing I did, and I read about it, is go to a planetarium. And at the time, in the early 80s, Karachi had some new planetariums that had started. And it was just an amazing experience because Karachi is like one of the biggest cities in the world. You don't see stars. So just being surrounded by it, it's just an amazing feeling, which, unfortunately, the only place now we can get that deep night sky is inside a planetarium. I wish there are other places. And yeah, you can go to New Mexico, you can go to other dark
Go to an
skies.
island off the coast of Maine, which is the coolest place I've ever been.
That is true. So those are places, but in the absence of that, a planetarium is amazing.
Please, what was your take?
It was really cool. Them integrating the things in real time is really, really fun. I think I'm more interested in seeing more of that, especially because I didn't get to see the planet that I wanted to see the surface of, but that's okay.
Which was it?
I kind of wanted to see Mercury, all burnt out.
They let us pick what
too close to the
planet to
sun.
look at, and they picked Pluto, Salman Hamid.
Well, and at least it is a planet. I actually really respect this because down here you can see in every place Pluto is part of the
I had to explain to someone nearby, like the debate about Pluto.
Yeah.
Salmon's on the side of it still being a planet. It's like is a hot dog a sandwich with John Hodgman.
No, hot dogs are not sandwiches. The end.
Pluto is not technically a planet, but it is in our hearts.
Well, dwarf planet. So if you're going to say dwarf planet, terrestrial planets, giant planets, sure enough. But it's really cool actually because there is also Josh Simpson's Earth stuff is here. I mean, I actually love the museum. I had not been here before.
Oh,
but I think
you get to
I've
look
been
around
missing.
A little bit?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my God,
actually
so much
really,
fun.
really cool.
Coolest thing I saw was that the sun shadow on the rings of Saturn. I never really thought about that before. You don't usually see the big full frontal of Saturn and its rings, but then when you get it from the side, you're like, see, there's a nighttime on Saturn and it covers its rings too. That's pretty cool.
Hey, why shouldn't there be night times for everything?
There definitely should, but you don't think about it all the time.
And you can't see all of the sun at the same time.
Yeah, but you don't think about it all the time. You don't see it like that a lot. You got to see it in there, and that was cool.
But while you guys were in there, I had a chance to look around, and there is this really cool exhibit about the International Space Station as well.
Yep.
And they had these demonstrations about like what happens to you if you go out in space without a spacesuit.
Swift death.
Well, actually, but it was cool
so
because
swift death.
well, they had marshmallows to show on that, like so the first you inflate,
Explode.
sort of like gloat, and then it takes out, but never explodes. And I thought, well, that's a good way to go.
Thanks to Dr. Salman Hamid and everyone at the Springfield Museums for welcoming us to the grand reopening of the Seymour Planetarium.
Later in the show, we'll be meeting with Nicole LaChapelle of Easthampton, the mayor. Got a question for the mayor? Text us at 1-800-639-9120. Up next, Julie Lemure of Windy Ridge Farm in Holly talks seedlings with us and tells us how a pandemic improvisation became more of a mainstay.
You're listening to the
sorry, I cut you off.
413 on NEPM, Monte.
I was just improvising.
Time for another Local Hero Spotlight with Phil Corman from CISA, the local hero folks. And first of all, Phil, the event Field Notes on Sunday at Academy of Music was super great. So many amazing stories. It was great to hear a story in all Espanol. I think it's about time our storytelling folks have started to incorporate more of that. So lots of
a little
fun.
bit of shade there, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
a little bit of shade to our own organization, but I threw that at the event too. And I think it's time. We should be doing more of that. And it was great to hear stories about our fields and foods from our farms and that's kind of stuff that CISA is up to, the local hero folks. And joining us, appropriately enough, now that it is May, is Julia Lemure from Windy Ridge Farm. And do we need to fully disclose, Khalees, that you are involved?
That I participate in their CSA, yes.
I recognized the name Khalees, so I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, no, it's totally me. I love your CSA. We'll get into that later.
What kind of a CSA is it? It's out of Holly, right? But Khalees lives in Springfield, and you're still somehow making it work for people who don't live in Holly.
Yeah. So we're certified organic. We've been certified for about a decade now, and we focus mostly on seedlings, edible seedlings, medicinal seedlings. And one thing that we started doing actually in 2020 during COVID was offering home delivery. But we've found that it's actually been there's been continued demand for that since COVID has, a lot of things have gone back to normal, so to speak, but people are still wanting their seedlings delivered to their house. And Khalees, you actually chose the seedling CSA is great because you sign up early, so the farmer, we're getting our funds when we're incurring a lot of the expenses, but you also save about 30% off the retail prices. So it's a good way to get exactly what you want too. When you pre-order, Khalees signed up for our custom seedling CSA, so she gets to choose every single plant that she gets, and it's a good way to save money and know that you're going to get those shishito peppers or whatever your favorite garden friend is. You can know that you're going to get those exact plants.
Do you remember what you got, Khalees?
I got a pile of things. I didn't get to do it all by my whim this time. I had to plan with my partner, so I think we're getting broccoli and a bunch of kale and basil and some other herbs too, because there's herbs and flowers and fruit as well, which is really, really cool. Even if I missed out on the shiso this year, but that's my own fault.
Oh yes, that's not your fault either. It's the shiso did not want to germinate, so there's no shiso for anybody from us this year.
So sad. You're one of the few places that grow it, which is really awesome. It's such a great plant if you can get it to cooperate with you.
Yes. It will also self-seed too. So once you get it going in your garden, it's one that likes to come back on its own sometimes.
Julia Lemure, you're also germinating a human being seedling. As we're speaking to you, you have a baby in an ergo baby carrier and are bouncing it in the sort of way that Phil Corman has said it is like davening at shul, or that I, used to do for many, many, many years, bouncing children to sleep. So how is it juggling germinating seedlings and a humanling?
There's a lot of multitasking in farming. So this is just one of those ways we're multitasking this year, and we love the baby stage, and it's actually easier, I think, this year having our little one in the carrier. Once she's mobile, it'll be a whole new set of entertainment that we need to get into for keeping her occupied in the greenhouse. I have 2 older boys, and we used to have a little mobile sandbox on wheels, and I would drag it around wherever I was working in the greenhouse, and they would play in their sandbox wherever we were. So
was it a wagon? That seems like a heavy thing to carry around.
It was a little sandbox. It's about like 2 feet by 3 feet, and it was low, and it had a little rope like a sled, and it worked really great.
That is great. Very creative.
Do they like planting things too?
The kids love planting things, yes. And I'm hoping that our little 6-month-old, so far she seems very interested in all the work that we're doing out there every day. And she's certainly spending a lot of time in the carrier.
So Julia, I'm curious, how do you decide what are the seedlings you're going to grow? Because you've really made it a point of the farm business to grow more seedlings that are appropriate for more different cultures than one usually sees.
Yes, there's a couple ways we come up with our production plan for the greenhouse. We do quite a bit of wholesaling with other farms and farm stands and hardware stores and grocery stores around Western Mass in the Connecticut River Valley and over in the Berkshires and down into Connecticut. So a lot of that stuff is pre-ordered. The deadline is actually back at the beginning of February for wholesale. And that's great for us because we know that these plants are sold. Years ago when we started the greenhouses, bad weather in May could really affect our farm's bottom line for the year. If we had like a really, really wet, cold Memorial Day weekend, it would just kill our sales. And the way that we've been doing it with wholesale pre-order and also with retail pre-order on our website has kind of mitigated that dependence on like really good Saturday weather in May. In terms of items that we offer on our website at the retail level, a lot of it stems from customer demand. So we do one farmer's market throughout the year with plants and veggies over in Pittsfield. So a lot of what we offer has come from, just people asking, oh, can you grow the shishito pepper? Can you grow oregano brujo? Can you grow us this thing? So we've just kind of listened to demand and we try to keep up with what people are interested in.
One of the things I was impressed with when I signed up the first time, because this is my second time doing your CSA, was that you had a Holyoke specific one. And in that one was like tomatoes and onions and like chilies and culantro, which wasn't available anywhere else. It was just available in that particular share. And I thought that was really, really cool how that specific one got designed to be for the folks in that area who might, or like the folks who kind of wanted that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the Holyoke seedling CSA is definitely sort of a culturally important seedling box. There's oregano brujo in there. There's the culantro. There's ají dulce. That share has been very, very popular. And again, offering the home delivery, we have a lot of folks. We accept SNAP and of course HIP too through our website, and then we run folks cards when we deliver. And a lot of people, we've kept that CSA price point at $40, which is happens to be what a 1 to 2 person household receives for HIP benefits for the month. So we've been able to deliver a lot of seedlings in the Holyoke and Springfield area to folks, and we run their EBT card when we deliver, and with HIP it doesn't lower their SNAP balance at all because they get that instant rebate.
Julia, I'm wondering, you have such a strong commitment to equity and justice, and you're growing seedlings, and I'm just wondering where that came from for you in your life.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Western Mass in the hill towns, not too far from where we're farming now. I was always rummaging around in the garden, and I had this little herb garden that I planted when I was probably 6 or 7, and it's still there, it's all wild. And so it was always something that I was interested in and had a natural connection to. I didn't see myself as a farmer as I was growing up, but I did end up landing back in this direction after having my oldest child. And then for the past 10 years, in addition to the farm, I've also been working on a community garden program out in Pittsfield, so that's sort of my off-farm job.
It's
How is
still
that
farmer
going?
adjacent.
The community garden program is amazing. We have 3 gardens in elementary schools and 2 in public housing developments, and then 1 is at a food pantry and meal site. Farming can be a little bit isolating out here in the hill towns, and so being in community down there, my first job was in Pittsfield, and I went to school in Pittsfield, so I have a connection to that town, and it's really amazing to like be down there with other folks who are, again, either relearning how to garden or had barriers to access, didn't have a garden space. So people are really excited to be, meeting their plant friends again.
Julia from Windy Ridge in Holly, it is May now. Despite the fact that we had 3 days of summer in April, it's kind of cold and wet and rainy. What should we be putting outside? What should we be leaving inside? Any pro tips for what we should be doing right now?
It's been very, very wet. So I think home gardeners that are sort of doing a no-till practice are in better shape right now maybe than some of the larger scale farmers that are kind of waiting for things to dry back out again before getting out there with their tractors. But generally this time of year, you're safe putting in your lettuces and all your brassicas, so your broccolis and kales and cabbages and collards. Those are all fairly cold tolerant, so even if we get another night or 2 down into the 20s, they really won't mind. I'm always encouraging folks to wait on their cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers until closer to the end of May. And one thing that we do with our deliveries is we do try to wait, even when we have folks that really want their seedlings at the beginning of May. We wait until the middle of the month because in general, if you plant a pepper plant into 45-degree soil, it's not going to die, but it's also not going to grow at all. So you're not gaining much by jumping the gun. They really want the temps to be in the 60s, even in the evening, which we hardly get here in New England, even in the summertime.
Right. Yeah, I'm in a Black women's gardening group, and one of the things for the women who are in New England, they're always coming out with comments in June like, "Is it too late to put my stuff out?" And I'm like, "No, we live in New England. It's cold here. You did the safe thing."
Yeah. I have a lot of folks at the higher elevations that specifically wait until June now. They don't want their delivery until June because they've learned the hard way. We can still get that Memorial Day frost every once in a while, and with climate change, we're definitely in a warming trend in general, but it's also very the temperatures are oscillating faster, it seems like, and being more extreme in either direction. So we got 3 feet of snow here in the middle of March this year, and we've never gotten 3 feet of snow since I've lived here. So it was a pretty major event for us, and that was on the extra snow side, not on the warm side.
So I know, Julia, 14 months ago, you kind of had a greenhouse go down at maybe kind of the worst time that it could happen, and yet you sprung back. How was that possible?
Yeah, that was a stressful time, but now looking back on it, a couple of nice things came from it. It was March 8th, there was a bad windstorm that came through, and actually that morning, Ben Clark came on and spoke with you briefly, Monte, about it, and we started
I remember that.
Yeah, we started a fundraiser the morning that it happened, and at first I was very wary of doing that because it's our busiest time of year, and all of a sudden I was down about 30% of my growing space had been destroyed overnight. So we started the fundraiser, and then it was actually funded within 2 weeks by folks all over. Some we knew, some are customers, but some were just people in the community. And so we were able to rebuild within 3 weeks and had it back up and running in time for the busy plant rush here. And it was nice to know, again, sometimes when you're farming out here rurally, you can feel really isolated and you feel like you're kind of doing things on your own. So having our community come behind us like that and really hold us up during that time felt pretty good, even though it was a really stressful few weeks. It was nice to know that people had our back.
It's like communities were involved in sustaining agriculture.
Yeah, well, we keep calling it's our community-funded greenhouse now.
There you go.
I kind of think about it every time I walk in. So.
Yeah, I can imagine you selling the little ice cream popsicle stick where if people give money, they get to be on that stick.
Yeah. Julia Lemieux
Lemure from Windy Ridge Farm in Holly with her seedlings and her seedling person in her Ergo baby carrier right now. And CSA is still available for those seedlings?
Yes,
Julia?
yeah, we have a few. We wrap up the seedling CSAs we offer a certain number every year, and so when they sell out, they sell out.
But even with the CSA, if it sells out, people can still order their seedlings online, or maybe they go to River Valley Co-op.
Yeah, we like I mentioned, we do have wholesale partners in the Connecticut River Valley as well as the Berkshires. We have seedlings at River Valley Co-op and at the Old Creamery out in Cummington. They're actually our oldest wholesale customer out there in the hills. And Ashfield Hardware Store is another hard to find but really amazing place that carries
Love
our
it.
seedlings. Yeah, and then we're also at the Pittsfield Farmers Market May through October. We're there every week, so folks can find seedlings if they're over in the Berkshires.
Are you primarily growing your seedlings through like seed savings, like when you growing the plants yourselves and letting it go to seed to preserve the seeds? Or do you participate in seed saving that way, and do you offer those seeds for sale?
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that, Khalees, because we just this year, I've always had in my mind, I find it very strange that people sell seeds, because to me it's like something that you share and don't sell. But obviously, like I have to buy a lot of seeds every year for our farm's production, and some things like hybrids we have to purchase the seed because that's modified and you can't save the seed because it won't be the plant that you saved it from. It won't have the same characteristics. But we do quite a bit of seed saving with some of our open pollinated varieties and our heirloom varieties. And this year, mainly again because of customer requests at the farmers market, we're offering just a couple of seeds on our website is Scotch bonnet peppers and ají limo or the lemon drop pepper. They're both like really amazing pepper varieties, and hot peppers are one of my favorite things to grow. So we decided to just start there with the seeds. But we do a lot of seed saving and seed sharing sort of separate from the economic business of the farm. And it's probably my favorite thing that I do, even though it has no monetary value attached to it. There's something more important and more special about just sharing the seeds.
That's Julia Lemure from Windy Ridge Farm in Holly. Seeds still available, and now is the time to start thinking about certain seeds going in the ground. And Phil Corman from CISA, the local hero folks, you can find out about all of our local hero farmers and CSAs and farmers markets that are starting to pop up. Visit them at buylocalfood.org. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
It's just about time to meet the mayor with Easthampton's Nicola Chappelle. If you've got a question for her, text us at 1-800-639-9120.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on NEPM. That's the music of the band And the Kids, who is one of the bands that Easthampton Mayor Nicola Chappelle is a fan of. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's the Fabulous 413. I'm Monte Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith.
And we, although this is a new show, are endeavoring to talk to all of the mayors in the 4 counties of Western Mass.
There's less than you think.
Yeah, there are fewer mayors than you would think, but we had Mayor Joshua Garcia from Holyoke, and now we have, originally from Holyoke, the mayor of the city that is right next door, Easthampton, Mayor Nicola Chappelle. Thank you for being officially the second mayor that we're meeting on Meet the Mayor.
And I'm thrilled. Thank you for having me. I've missed our talks on the third Monday on that other.
You can say on our former home of WHMP with Bill Newman and Buzz Eisenberg. Yes, they have Mayor's Monday.
Yes.
And I was going to steal their alliteration, but not the same name. So it's Meet the Mayor.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. But M's, sticking with M's.
Still M's.
And honored to be second after my hometown mayor, Josh Garcia. Just love what he's doing with the hometown and very happy to be working with him mayor to mayor. It's just, it's been a lot of fun.
And despite the fact that Mayor Dominic Sarno made a guest appearance on the show today, that does not count as Meet the Mayor.
No.
We did not meet him in this format where we can just...
Conversation with his scheduler. Mayor's out of that.
Yeah, right.
This mayor's out of it.
First, tell us about, you grew up in Holyoke, and then what brought you to Easthampton and then brought you to the highest office in Easthampton?
I grew up in Ward 4 in Holyoke. My great-great-grandparents came from Canada and the railroad to work in the mills. And then everyone, my mom, my dad, my grandparents all worked in AMPAD.
What's AMPAD?
AMPAD is the makes notebooks, the Paper City, if you remember.
Right.
Yes. So, and next to a place called Electron or whatnot that makes the best puzzles in the world.
Oh.
Yes. It's definitely
Still?
worth it. Yeah, I think they're still there.
We got to do a segment on them.
Yeah, yeah, I think they're still there. And went to the same schools that my grandmother and mother and father went to. And then the big, fast forward, I went all of 5 miles up the road to Smith College for my undergrad, and came back from California then in '93 with a baby, and was looking for a place to live. And in Easthampton, at the end of Underwood Drive, I found 2 houses on 1 plot of land for $92,000. Yeah, right. I mean, talk about the universe opening up and raining property on me. I was very pleased. And so the idea was to live there for a couple of years. My brother lived in the smaller house, and then we would go back to Holyoke or, do whatever. And we liked it. I mean, we lived on a side of the mountain. Downtown was perking up. There was just a really groovy thing happening. That was the beginning of the mills being fixed up. And then to end up being mayor, I just got really upset with national politics. I had done a lot of volunteering, a lot of fundraising, and there's this great book by Mike Royko, the sports writer, Boss, and talks about daily and the ward operation and getting things done immediately with some interesting tactics, to say the least.
Mayor Daily, not like DAILY or?
Yeah, mayor.
Yeah, right.
Mayor Daily, sorry. No, not me. And just realized, the city-state is one of the strongest things that we've ever created. Not because it's perfect, but it's moldable and it's responsive to the people on Main Street. And I was like, we need to start over. We need to start on Main Street. And I was like, mayor of Easthampton, 16,000 people. The air seemed ripe to do a lot of creative, fun things and open up government. So I ran.
We're talking with Mayor Nicole LaChapelle of Easthampton, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit about the development and how cool Easthampton has become, for lack of a better word, and how you probably can't buy a plot of land with 2 houses for $90,000 there now, and that is a blessing and a curse of sorts. But Easthampton, of course, has been in the news with the search for the superintendent of schools there and the
ongoing
school committee. So the very brief summation of what's gone on, if you haven't followed this closely, is Vito Perrone was offered position as superintendent on March 23rd and accepted pending negotiations. There was an executive session meeting on March 30th to discuss those negotiations, and this is where the so-called ladies' controversy begins. That meeting is now subject of an open meeting law complaint, and now there have been 2 school committee members who have resigned in the wake of this controversy. It became a national story that Vito Perrone was allegedly asked to no longer accept this, was pushed out from accepting the role as superintendent because he used the word ladies to address members of the school committee. First,
he says that's why.
He says that is why. What's your take on the ladies' controversy? Is this actually what happened that caused the school committee to rescind their offer, or is there more to this story that you can tell us?
I can certainly add context to that. I would like to just back up a moment, which I am amazed that it's completely lost in the news and whatnot. Ladies, and being called a lady, if termed a microaggression, which I know is a strong word, it should be taken as that fact and how they feel and how they'd like to be referred to. And I think it's fair to say that Chair Kwasinski and as well as Ms. Colby had, the chair called out that's not the way she would like to be referred to. And that's for her to decide. That's no different than, a level of harassment in the workplace. Do I think on the scale of microaggressions, is it a massive one? No, there are many more that folks that, don't look at all at me, that aren't, white, and it's not on that level. But it's also, though, important.
So is your take that she really did view this as a microaggression? Because I had heard rumblings, and you rumor mill, and you talk to parents in Easthampton, that some of them were saying that this was Vito Perone's way of commandeering the narrative about himself, to say that there were other problems surrounding Vito Perone that the school committee had, but that he ran out with the narrative that he was asked. It was rescinded because of the ladies' comment. That then becomes a national news story. It seems like fodder for certain people in a certain political bent. But your take was that she actually did view this as a microaggression, and is that the driving reason why he was asked to
She clarified in a public statement that she took it as an insult and a microaggression, and I feel that is for her to define and to be respected. Dr. Perone did then go public with his concerns and decided that it was that comment. It was much more deep, as well as the context and how he addressed the whole school committee in that executive session. But then to go public with his own narrative is utterly confounding to me. Utterly confounding.
Now, some school committee members have resigned. Lori Garcia is the most recent to over the weekend, and she wanted to renegotiate with Vito Perone. And you, amongst others, have voted against opening renegotiations with Vito Perone. Why?
Superintendent, as a school committee member, we have mandates, and one of those mandates are to put forward processes to do important things. One of the most important things is to hire a superintendent. We had a process we put forward, and we delivered on our mandate. That mandate in no way can be changed by a campaign by a school committee member or an applicant to all of a sudden reopen negotiations when there's been a public vote that negotiations are closed. It happens all the time. You enter into negotiation, an agreement cannot be met, and negotiations end. It's not for one side to say, well, I don't want them to end, and I'm going to, reach out with an open arm and feel that, the candidate can be a part of healing. Well, they're entitled to their opinion, but the process was followed the law. We delivered a process that was open, that was fair. The result, whatever that is, of a process, that's not guaranteed, nor is it something that the school committee can guarantee.
There is some question about whether or not there was a violation of open meeting law, and there are some people in town that feels like this hasn't been a very transparent process. So do you feel like there was a violation of open meeting law in these discussions as the mayor of Easthampton, Nicole LaChapelle? And what's being done to sort of regain the trust of the members of the community that still sometimes are standing at the end of Cottage Street holding signs that say things like ladies and that are trying to, re-engage with Vito Perone, who some people think was a good candidate for the superintendent?
I mean, obviously, he was a strong candidate because he made it to the finals. Mm-hmm. And we had a search committee who, spent weeks and hours going through all the applications. So I won't deny that Dr. Perone had, strengths. The first vote we took, I voted for him, and then reversed in the executive session. The idea of good candidate or bad candidate, it's just too black and white. It's just like one word wasn't dependent on offer or rescinding. There was a conversation that was broad about the candidate's qualities. And I believe that's not an open meeting law. It's a part of negotiation, and it is also a part of the due diligence the school committee must do to deliver the best result of the process. Was it transparent? It was. Executive session is confidential, very purposely so, as are negotiations. I said as much to Dr. Perone in that first executive session, that he was concerned. And I said, no one on this committee legally can speak about this. The statement will be that we entered negotiations and could not come to agreement. And I faithfully said, what you say is up to you, but this is what we're going to say. And if you should hear differently, then I would like to know, and Chair Kwasinski would like to know, because there are consequences to that.
I feel like there's a certain precedent that gets set by people who take that information and go, huh.
Yes. Now, there wasn't, I promised we wouldn't talk just about the superintendent. We're going to run out of time here. But one last question about that. There was another superintendent who was offered the job, Erica Fajinski.
Yes.
Stark. And she withdrew her candidacy after students from the high school flagged some comments that she had made, calling her conservative and transphobic rhetoric. Is it going to be possible to get a good candidate permanently for the city of Easthampton with all of the drama that's been surrounding the candidates that have been offered the job in this part of the process so far?
I mean, Dr. Stark withdrew after a conversation with the chair of her own decision, and I can commend the students for coming forward with their concerns and backing it up by something very real they read on social media. It's a larger conversation of what is a background check on an application without tiptoeing or leaning over into an individual's personal life and privacy. Social media is a big blah.
That's not a background check. That's what you put out there.
Right.
Right.
And so, it has weight. And that was our discussion with the candidate. At that time, she made her own decision to withdraw. And we march forward into what is now history. A part of the reason why the chair put out an option of an intern was exactly that. The drama and the large kerfuffles that are happening to get back to the kids and the staff, get into routine. It's the end of the school year, so it's prom, and it's, 8th grade transition and kindergarten transition, which is just so fun. And the kids deserve to celebrate and end out or begin their career in Easthampton Public Schools just about them. It's about them. So the intern gives us all space, and I know school committee members are already looking into trust-building activities while we have an intern to build that trust.
That's it for the superintendent part of the conversation. More rapid-fire questions about other Easthampton goings-on coming up in just a little bit with the mayor of Easthampton, Nicole LaChapelle, on Meet the Mayor, the Fabulous 413 on NEPM.
Hangman billboards, they...
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We are here with Mayor Nicole LaChapelle of Easthampton. We have a question from one of your constituents, Jared DeFazio in Easthampton, is asking, where do things stand with the skate park?
Sure. Very exciting, the skate park project, and I would be remiss to mention, not to mention that it was started and came forward a group of volunteers who not only came up with the idea, but really organized the community around it, did some fundraising, paid for some environmental impact reports. Right now, we are finishing round 1 of testing of some city-owned land off of the bike path by Ferry Street and Wastewater. Right. We haven't gotten all of those tests back, but we are feeling pretty good about it. And also, sub-agenda, it's a way to expand the area around the bike path and also give, different parts of the community recreation options, but also skateboard and then hop off the park and take a great walk through Arcadia.
Now we got another question from Jim O'Donnell, who you know, and I could tell by the volumes of information that he sent us about this topic that you may have encountered him before, is claiming that he spoke very highly of you as the mayor, but seeing that he feels disgruntled with the housing authority, says they're recalcitrant to the point of obstructive. Tell me your take on the housing authority. Is there something that needs to be investigated in regards to the housing authority in the minute we have left on the show?
Yeah, great. That's a wow. Yeah, huh? Yes, so I'm familiar with Jim's concerns and the escalation of those concerns. There are a couple of city councilors who are looking at it as well, and I've contacted Representative Carey and Senator Vilas about the issue. The Easthampton Housing Authority isn't a department of the city. It actually reports to the state, granddaddies of all housing committees. I forget the letters.
That's the official title now.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. I mean,
Granddaddy Housing Committee.
I want to be a granddaddy.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to be a grandmother.
Oh,
cheers!
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Congratulations!
See, that was a pivot. I'm a politician.
That's a nice
pivoting.
political move.
Yeah,
there you go.
No, but there are some inconsistencies there. We've had open dialogues with the board and helping them put together a tenants association, and the city council, Tom Peake, has really been a huge part of that. Whether there is credence or not, I would say that there is a lot of information to sift through, and not just from Jim, to figure out the wild bureaucratic paths of housing authorities.
Very quickly, we've
Yep.
been talking a lot about how much you love local music. I know you love the Grateful Dead. I try not to hold that against you. Favorite local band right now?
You know, Pamela Means.
Oh, I had her music queued up, I think, in here somewhere. I know we might have already played it.
Yeah, right now. I mean, I've listened to her for decades, but she is just killing it in the last couple of years. Oh, so enjoy that.
She's great. We're playing Lux Deluxe, so I know you like to, and one of whom owns a bar in your town.
I'm surprised you're not wearing their hat today.
I know. Mayor LaChapelle of Easthampton, our second mayor on Meet the Mayor. Thank you so much. Tomorrow on the show, the first Pride celebration of the year will happen this weekend, a whole month early.
We'll hear about Northampton Pride, now Hampshire Pride, then and now.
We'll be joined by Northampton's Dr. Jane Fleischman, who was at the first Pride event, and we'll talk with Clay Pearson, the organizer of this one. I'm Monte Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith.
We'll see you tomorrow
on the
in
Fabulous 413.